Hi, everybody. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be up here today. So yes, my name is Michelle, and I am angry. But that's okay, right? So we grow up thinking that anger is this negative thing. A couple nights ago, I'm with some friends. They're asking me, what am I going to do? And I said, I'm going to talk about that I'm angry. And they're like, Michelle, you don't do that in public. That's like an in-the-house thing. And I said, no. This is why I've got to talk about it, right? So anger, it's an exuberant emotion, right? It brings urgency and energy and intensity to a situation. And often we use it when we need to win, right? We use it when we're fighting our best fight. So I wasn't always angry, always been pretty exuberant. But about 10 years ago, I got really angry. I was pregnant with my first child, and I was very politely and quietly screwed on maternity leave. I lost 3 weeks at home with my baby and about $25,000. Yeah, I was angry. I was really angry. But fortunately then I started to find my people in AOM and FEMINM. But you guys are angry too. And I'm here to tell you that anger is valid, it's rational, and it's okay to be angry. But history tells us it's not. Anger is never celebrated, and particularly the anger of women. It's repressed, silenced, and ultimately erased from history. So women have been angry a long time. And we'll talk about that in a minute. I would have been in one of those probably from birth. But, there was a study that showed in 2018, women were 57% angrier than they were in 2017. And wait, Democratic women, so that may be some of you, are furious. 83% of us are furious on a daily basis. Okay, so we're angry. We are angry people. And that's good. So back in the 16th century, when you were one of these angry and defiant women, you got to wear that. It's called a scold's bridle, and if you were super lucky, I'm sure I would have been, you got to have a metal plate with spikes that literally would hold your tongue for you. So heaven forbid you step out of line. But history is full of angry women, and I won't get to tell you about everybody I show you today, but they've been important in our history. So I'm going to start with Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton. You guys have heard of them, right? Our suffragists. But did you know they were abolitionists, very staunch abolitionists? And they actually stopped their fight for women's rights to fight to free slaves. And after the Civil War, they went back to their abolitionist allies, including Frederick Douglass, and said, will you take up the fight for women's rights with us again? Yeah, no, we're not going to do that. Why would we give white women a vote if we just gave it to black men? We would cancel them out. There's no point. Yeah, they were angry. But we're never taught that, right? Nobody tells us about that in history. In 1911, here in New York, there was a huge factory fire at the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory. 146 people died in that fire, most of them women, some of them children. And after that, a woman named Frances Perkins changed the course of her career. She decided she was angry enough, and people weren't listening to her when she was making these big speeches. She started to develop what we now know as workplace safety standards, and some of the policy that she wrote still stands today. From 1911. So we probably got some room to go there, but she was an angry woman. All right, so moving on up. Rosa Parks, right? What do you think of when you hear Rosa Parks' name? I always think of a very graceful, poised, maybe even quiet woman who sat patiently, refusing to give up a seat on a bus. But she will tell you in her memoirs that she was angry. She was a staunch anti-rape activist, and if she got going about rape, she was angry. Carmita Wood is somebody probably none of you have heard of. Cornell University, 1974. She was a senior level executive administrator, a secretary, and she was being sexually harassed. She reported the harassment to Cornell, and they told her, and I quote, "A mature woman knows how to handle these things." She was silenced. She filed for a transfer and it was denied. She reported the harassment again, filed for transfer again, and it was denied. She was politely told to resign, and she did. She then filed for unemployment in the state of New York, and her claim was denied. So, a group of female activists, some female attorneys, sought out Miss Wood, and together, they formed the concept of what we now know as sexual harassment. 1974. Anita Hill. Who remembers Anita Hill? So my sister's best friend refers to Clarence Thomas as Uncle Clarence. So we have a little debate about this in my house often. But 1991, Anita Hill, a law professor, testifies in front of an all-white, all-male Senate Judiciary Committee. And she talks about years of harassment when Clarence Thomas was her boss. And what happened? She was ignored, she was dismissed, she was disbelieved. And we just saw this play out again. But angry women fuel movements. And that's why it is important for all of us to embrace and channel our anger. So many of you may know about the Million Women March, 1997, Philadelphia. More of you probably know of the Women's March, 2017. Black Lives Matter, Occupy Wall Street, all of these movements fueled by women. Women, some with power and privilege, some without, supporting feminism and our mission. That's Bree Newsom climbing a flagpole at the South Carolina State House to remove the Confederate flag. Beyonce at the MTV Video Music Awards. And of course, Michelle Obama, who in the last election called out Trump for his hurtful and hateful speech against women. So there's lots of reasons to be angry. I'm angry, and what happens when you're angry, right? It boils up, it bubbles up inside you, and you have to do something with it. So I'm going to implore you to think about some of these things that might make you angry too, and what we can do about them. But we do need to proceed with caution, because there is a double standard to anger. We saw it in the last election. Bernie was angry, Trump was angry, Hillary got angry, and it didn't work. It didn't work for her. Right? Not my favorite example. But, right, what is an angry man? An angry man is powerful. He's smart. He's a fighter. He's empowered. And what is an angry woman? Right? If you Google Hillary Clinton election photos, this is what you get. Right? She looks psychotic. Right? So we're seen as furious, overly emotional, dangerous, and let's call it, we're bitches, right? Front and center. So I knew that I needed to start funneling my anger for good. I've used it to make it my superpower, my super fuel. I wanted to make an impact. I wanted to be a leader, but I knew I needed to effectively communicate to make it work. So it was time for action. But I had some good examples. So here you'll see the 1992 Senate, which had 24 women. This was a record, and this was in the wake of Anita Hill's testimony. Carol Moseley Braun, 1992, the first African-American woman elected to the US Senate. And we see it now in our 116th Congress. So leadership, what does it mean to you? You know, when I was a kid, leadership meant being like the student government president, the captain of the team. But now it's more than that, right? It's about service. It's about passing it on. It's about bringing up those behind me. So I knew I wanted to push myself. I'd gotten kind of content in my sphere of leadership, both in the School of Medicine where I work, with AWEM, with FemInM. And about a year ago, I was approached by a very senior woman and kind of voluntold to run for the SAEM Board of Directors. And I thought to myself, why the hell is she talking to me? I'm too young, I'm too junior, I'm too inexperienced, and frankly, I'm probably too mouthy. But I did it, and I won. So clearly, thank you. Clearly, I represent a voice that is not being heard. And I am proud to serve as a voice of gender equity racial equity, and a younger, more liberal group of physicians on that board. But I knew I needed to be careful. And here it is. There I am on that beautiful disc profile, DDD. I have this tiny sliver of eye, but it's tiny. So I knew I needed to grow in different ways too. I knew that I needed to work on my communication skills and my leadership skills so that I could lead a broader swath of people. So I took it upon myself to take some professional development courses. I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to work with a professional coach, and I've had some great mentors that have helped me along the way to soften my communication style. And I think RBG said it best, right? But fight for the things that you care about, but do it in a way that you will lead others to join you. And that's what I wanted to do. I didn't want to tell you to come with me. I wanted to make you understand why you should. So, I'm turning my anger into action. I'm trying to convert this anger into inspiration to all of you. I've taken my anger and I've channeled it. And my anger is fortified in my determination. So I have a question. Are you angry? Yes. And if you don't know where to get started, here are a few people who might give you some inspiration. But as women, we are agents of change, and those in power historically have always known that in the fury of women lies the power to change the world. So I implore you, use your anger, channel that anger, challenge yourself, and make change. Because as women in this world, with our allies that are in the audience, we are champions of change. Thank you.